father is a clergyman in Holland. In our family, there has always been one who preached the gospel. It is my fervent desire that the spirit of my father and grandfather may rest upon me.
This is he, Vincent Van Gogh, 18 now, but soon at 23, desperate to be a preacher. He does not know it, he cannot know it, but upon reaching that decision, he will have left only 15 years of life wherein to shape a totally different career. His story best begins when as a boy he wandered the moors of his father's parish in Zundert, a little village in the south of Holland.
Zundert, I can see again the radiant blue sky with the white clouds in it. Every path, the views of the fields outside, the church, the graveyard.
Yes, especially the graveyard. For when as a child he passed these monuments on his way to church, he looked down upon this grave bearing his own name. The grave of his elder brother, still born a year before himself. The same day of the same month, March 30th. And because of his parents' grief, the living Vincent, all during his early years, lived in the shadow of the dead Vincent beneath this tombstone. It was here in England, as a young man, in pursuit of the love of God, that Vincent, at Ilsworth up the Thames, took his place in this church. And as he ecstatically wrote his brother Theo,
Theo, your brother preached for the first time last Sunday. Let us not forget that we are strangers on earth, but we have a God and Father who preserveth strangers, and that we are all brothers. Amen. When I was standing in the pulpit, Theo, I felt like somebody who, emerging from a dark cave underground, comes back to the friendly daylight.
in December of 1878, after a 3-month course at a school for evangelists in Belgium, Vincent set out along this road to the coal mining district of the Borinage on probation as a lay minister. From this point on, Vincent's letters among the most remarkable in history. His letters to the one person on earth to whom he felt close, his younger brother Theo, who was commencing a career as an art dealer in Paris. These letters are Vincent's only bridge with life as normal men knew it.
Dear Theo, here in the Borinage, life goes on underground instead of above. Oh, one might live here for years and never know the real state of things unless one went down into the mines. I should like to make rough sketches of the things I meet on the way, but it would probably keep me from my real work.
In such a setting, Vincent plunged wholeheartedly to work, and soon the whole district buzzed with his extraordinary behavior. He gave up his warm room. He moved to a hut meaner than the miners, and amid the ash heaps lived on scraps as he nursed the sick and comforted the lowly. These reflections were made later, after he was dismissed by the Missionary Society for carelessness in dress and bearing, want of dignity.
Theo, it is not merely the question of dress. It is a much more serious question, I assure you. It is simply that I have different ideas.
It is here to the village of Queen that Vincent finally came after his dismissal.
I'm not made of stone or iron, like a hydrant or a lamppost, to improve my life. Don't you think I'm eager to? But I'm more afraid of remedies. Your advice to become an engraver of visiting cards or a bookkeeper or carpenter's apprentice. Perhaps it is only a terrible nightmare. With or without our permission, the wind turns and we have a thaw. I still have some hope of a change for the better.
Thereafter, 9 months of silence. And then...
July 1880. My dear Teo, as molting time, when they change their feathers, is for birds, so adversity or misfortune is a difficult time for us human beings. One can stay in it or one can emerge renewed. But anyhow, it must not be done in public. A caged bird knocks his head against the bars of the cage, but the cage remains and the bird is maddened by anguish. Look at that lazy animal, says another bird in passing. He has everything he wants. I am caged, and you tell me I do not want for anything. Fools, I beseech you, liberty, that I may be a bird like other birds. A certain idle man resembles this idle bird. Do you know what frees one from this activity? It is every deep, serious affection, being friends, being brothers. Love, that is what opens the prison door. But I must continue on the path I have taken now. In deep misery, I said to myself, I will take up my pencil and I will go on with my drawing. From that moment, everything seemed transformed for me.
Thereafter, the two brothers were as one single human being. Here to Brussels comes Vincent Van Gogh, struggling to teach himself drawing like a man possessed.
I am in a rage of work. My aim is to learn to make some drawings that are presentable and saleable. Now, there are laws of proportion, of light and shadow, of perspective, which one must know. I have been drawing all winter now. My chief food is dry bread and some potatoes or chestnuts, which people sell here on the street corners. The main thing for me is to draw. The cheapest way would perhaps be for me to spend the summer at Eton. I can find subjects enough there.
And so in the spring of 1881, Vincent arrives at Eton, his family's new home, his father's new church.
What a job it is to make people understand how to pose. They only want to pose in their Sunday best. I have learned to measure and to seek for broad lines. What seemed impossible before is gradually becoming possible now. Dear Teo, there is something I must tell you. A deep love has grown in my heart for Kay.
This is his cousin Kay, a widow and her child, who visited his family that summer. Kay, who replied to his proposal of marriage, no, never, never.
I look upon that no, never, never as a block of ice which I press to my heart to thaw.
And though he pursued her to her home in Amsterdam, asking to speak to her only as long as he could hold his hand in the flame of an oil lamp, and so doing until he faints from pain, all was to no avail. Convinced at last, resigned, Vincent leaves for The Hague to study with his noted painter cousin, Mauve. And there...
Teo, I found a woman. Not young, not beautiful. She doesn't have a lady's hands like Kay. A pregnant woman who had to walk the streets in winter to earn her bread. You understand how. I took this woman for a model. So far, I've been able to protect her and her child from hunger and cold. I cannot, I may not, I will not live without love. I am a man, and a man with passions. I must have a woman.
Here in The Hague, Vincent struggles on, living with and drawing the girl he called Scene, his own.
Today I mail you a drawing to show my gratitude for all you have done for me. In my opinion, it is the best figure I have drawn yet. I want to do drawings that touch people, so that people will say of my work, he feels deeply, he feels tenderly. What am I in people's eyes? A nonentity or an eccentric and disagreeable man? Somebody who has no position in society, the lowest of the low. I want my work to show what is in the heart of such an eccentric, of such a nobody. This is my ambition.
And it was here that color came into the life of him who was to become one of the greatest colorists of all time.
Theo, just think, I have been struggling for years, and now comes a dawn of real light. Theo, I sit down with a whiteboard before the spot that strikes me. I say to myself that that whiteboard must become something. I find that nature has spoken to me. It will be a hard pull for me. The tide rises high, almost to the lips, perhaps higher still. But I will sell my life dearly. I have been in bed 3 days with headache and toothache. Well, my youth is gone. After all, there are much better things, but sometimes, like now, it is hell. I should be very pleased if you had in your wardrobe a discarded coat or a pair of trousers to fit me. Theo, you know what difficulties I had with the woman when I wrote you last. Her family tried to draw her from me. My spirits are low. I have no real friend but you. You must try to come soon, brother.
When Theo at last arrives, he finds that Vincent has left his teacher, Mauve.
He said I had to draw from casts. I smashed those plaster casts to pieces. I will draw from casts when there are no hands and feet of living beings to draw from. I should love to go to Drenthe, that country of heath and moorland.
And so he does, leaving the woman, leaving The Hague, drawing the burden of his past behind him. Vincent Van Gogh, after months of wandering, returns to his only possible refuge, the home of his parents, now here in Noonan.
Theo, I feel that father and mother feel the same dread of taking me in the house as they would about taking a big, rough dog. He'll be in everybody's way, and he barks so loud.